Hey, I'm Jason Wood, the VA Loan Guy and host of the Armed and Ready podcast. Please come and check out this exciting episode we have for you. Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Armed and Ready podcast. I'm your host, Jason Wood, the VA Loan Guy. Today we have a really cool guest with us, Army veteran Hank Braxtan. Hank is in the movie production world, and we're super excited to learn about his whole journey. So, Hank, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
Pretty great. I complained in the pregame a little bit about these spring allergies, but other than that, can't complain too much.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, at least the sun's shining and, the plants are blooming, right?
Looking forward to it being green.
Yeah, me too. Well, tell us a bit about your background and who you are and what you're up to. I mean, I know you're in the Army, so tell us about that whole experience. What compelled you to raise your right hand and swear in?
I couldn't do like the Navy or Marines because I don't like the ocean. Like, I just don't want to not see land. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe I saw Jaws too many times as a kid. I don't know. But it's just, I'm not a fan. And I don't know. The Army just appealed. I've always followed my intuition, and it just said to go. So
nice. So you joined like right out of high school then?
Like a lot of kids, like within like 3 weeks of graduation, I was off to basic training, and that was quite a transition.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
You see it in movies and stuff, but it's definitely different to be there.
So what'd you do in the Army? What was your job?
I was an intel analyst, actually. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like I always tell people, I can't really talk about it, but it's like, even if I did, you'd probably get bored.
Yeah, are you just behind a computer all day, or?
I mean, there's that aspect of it, depending on, your duty station. And maybe that computer is in a box in the desert or up on a hill, or maybe you land some real cushy gig in a giant building in the middle of the continental U.S., which I happened to do the last couple years I was in. So
there you go.
I got Air Force Barracks, which was like amazing.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But, you also have to do a lot of the jungle stuff. You got to carry the radio. You got to do those types of things. So.
Yeah.
And when you're the techie smart guy from up on the hill or whatever, you definitely get treated a little differently. Mostly a loving way, but you know how soldiers like to mess with each other.
Yeah, there's no end to that. Well,
and I dished it out, I gotta say. So I probably deserved plenty of that came back my way.
Well, you have to, right? I mean, you won't survive unless you can dish it back.
Yeah, absolutely. And instigate it a lot, honestly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, us Air Force guys, we had it made when it comes to barracks.
I was always jealous. Like, it was, I think our barracks in Korea, like literally one of my buddies killed a rat in the bathroom with a hockey stick. And
wow.
They flooded one time. And then, you go over to the Air Force barracks, and it's like
a Hilton. And the chow hall's not too bad either.
I would definitely do the Air Force if I did it over again. Like, no doubt.
I hear that a lot from people.
The Army recruiter called, and I was just like, why not? I'm an easy sell.
Yeah.
I'm a cheap date.
So how long did you serve?
6 active.
Okay.
And then I was on the inactive reserve, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
But that was a dicey period because that was that inactive reserve time was when we're like deep in Iraq. So like I could have been back in at any point.
Yeah, they could have picked up the phone.
I didn't make a lot of plans. I'll just put it that way.
When you got out, what did you do after you got out of the Army?
Believe it or not, I went to film school.
Oh, no kidding.
Time.
Where'd you go to film school?
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I made movies my whole childhood for the most part, but especially in high school. And when I transitioned to the military, that kind of went away for a while. Like, I just didn't even think about it.
Right.
But then when I was stationed in Korea, some of the guys and I someone had a VHS camera and we're like, let's make a movie. And so we made like the silliest movie about just basically a guy going around killing people on our post. That was it. It was really dumb, but everyone loved it because, you got to see like a bunch of your friends in it. And, the camaraderie is different when you're overseas somewhere because everyone's like missing home together and hates the world to a degree. Like, right. Everything's against you. There's I don't know. There's some sort of vibe like that. It felt like, and when we made that movie, I think the company commander even came. Like, we were in one of the barracks in the day room, and they had a TV set up, and like everyone that wasn't on shift watched the movie together, and that was pretty cool.
you went to film school, then did you just immediately start making films, or did you go to work somewhere, kind of learning how to master the craft, or?
Well, I actually dropped out of film school because I got a job offer in LA. So I figured, why get a degree? Like that's what I'm getting a degree for. So took that, and then yeah, when you get to Hollywood, it's like basic training again. Like you're starting at the bottom again, and a lot of it's just a pay your dues type of thing. And well, I suffered at that time, so you have to suffer. It's a thing we do as humans. We like to pass that suffering on to the new guys. Make sure they get as well rounded and emotionally damaged as we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was tough, but it was good. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like, oh my God, it's so hard. It's tough. It's a big city. But you work your way up, you meet people, you make friends, and eventually you have to make your own movie. Like you have to do something. Because if you're just waiting around for like the studio exec to like pass you on the street and see you and be like, "Oh, I saw your YouTube film." Actually, this was before YouTube, but for the kids now, it's hard. Like it was definitely a harder like time like to get your stuff out there. There was no YouTube.
Yeah. So what did you do like when you got to work in Hollywood? Like what does an entry level person do?
Oh, I mean, you've seen the tropes and the stories. Washing the executive's car, getting coffee. Like, yeah, you do all kinds of stuff like that. I had a lot of additional skills though, because I'd been doing film and stuff for so long. I was really good with computers and cameras and all kinds of stuff, and I knew a lot about special effects because I'd made movies before I even got there, like backyard stuff. But it's like still when you make a movie like a Ghostbusters fan film when you're 25 or so, you're not gonna have visual effects artists and stuff just jumping up to like do all your stuff for you. You're not gonna have a lot of stuff that you would have, so you have to like learn all those things. So point of that is like I had a lot of other skills, filmmaking wise, and some leadership skill, etc., from the military. And they took full advantage of that. Paid me the same amount I was getting as the entry level guy, but gave me way more responsibility.
Oh, that's always fair.
Yeah.
Nice. So how long did you kind of hoof it doing the Hollywood gig before you branched out and tried your own?
Anybody that's like an indie filmmaker trying to pay the rent in Los Angeles, like you're gonna work a job.
Yeah.
Very few people are like, I'm making movies and that's covering the bills. When you see that, that's like a very small percentage of that industry. Everyone else is just you're like tradesmen. You have a trade. Like you're good at moving lights or running track. Your art department, you're literally moving furniture and painting walls and stuff like that. It's like, and you can totally make a living doing that. There's plenty of people that work studio films, things like that, and make a living. Point of that is, I worked in those trenches a lot. I did a lot of behind the scenes camera things, a lot of post production, which is editing and coloring and sound mixing and all that stuff. And that paid the bills and freed me up to every once in a while I could make a movie, which is how I did my first 3 movies, I think.
Okay.
And then in 2018, we moved back to Colorado, my wife and I. She's like my partner in crime on everything too. She's a producer on all my films. She's great. She acts, does a whole bunch of stuff. But we got back here, and some of our contacts were like, you guys could make stuff for really cheap in Colorado, so we'll give you budgets. And so we've been making movies here since.
So what all goes into like making the movie? Like, are you the one that has to like come up with the script and the whole idea, or do you have other people that suggest that, or how does it work?
That's an interesting question because a lot of people probably think that I sat around thinking like Snake Out of Compton. That's what I want to make. That's my dream project, right?
Right.
That's gonna put me over the top. No. You do think of your own stuff, and once in a while, maybe you get to make that. But I would say the rule in the film industry is everybody wants their project made. So even though I have stuff I want to do, these things usually will come to me. I'll be kind of like a merc, making this movie. So Snake Out of Compton is a perfect example where that project just kind of fell in my lap. A couple guys were hired to make it, and they didn't like necessarily have time or whatever. And they're like, "Hey, do you want to make this Snake movie?" And so I agreed to do it on the account or under the understanding that we could rewrite the script, basically write a whole new movie because I didn't really like the original. And that's how that came about. So what you'll typically do is, you might get hired on to direct, a Snake Out of Compton or Anaconda, or one of those sci-fi like creature features as we call them.
Yeah.
And then you got to put that whole thing together too. You got to figure out who's going to do the special effects. You got to get your friends to shoot it for really cheap. Do buddy rates. Get your friends to cameo and pop up in it. All your actor friends, of course, want to roll, but I just don't have enough roles for everybody. So you try to hook all your friends up as well, but it doesn't always work out.
So how long have you been doing it now? How many movies have you made?
Movies that have been professionally released, I think 5. I think we're on. Number 5 is coming out this year. And then we're about to shoot a new film in July, which will be fun. It's basically like a futuristic Navy SEAL team fighting some zombie type creatures, like super highbrow intellectual stuff. But it'll be really fun. So that's 6 there. But it's like, I made probably 4 or 5 features before I like was serious. Like, I'm gonna try to sell this and get it, just properly distributed. And then add on to that probably I don't know 40 short films.
Wow.
Give or take.
I imagine like that, the whole business side of it, and like after you've made this film and actually selling it for some sort of distribution, like that's a whole nother like skill set, right?
It's tough, and we lean on some connections we have that actually sell the film, and at the moment, like a lot of times, those are the people that are also financing these films, because they know if we spend X amount and it has this type of creature in it and this type of action, we can sell it for this amount, so it's worth it to do it. So they know stuff like that, but it's like, it's the film. The whole thing is tough. It's like if you're a filmmaker just trying to get a movie made, it's super hard to raise money. It's very hard to produce a film, especially if it's a lower budget film, because everyone's wearing 2 hats, 4 hats, whatever it is, doing numerous jobs. And then the final phase of distribution is also very difficult. I know plenty of filmmakers that have made their own thing and self-distributed, meaning like they got it on Amazon Prime, they put it on iTunes, maybe they got a 5 theater deal, something like that. It happens. But you also have to spend a bunch of money on publicity, because it's super hard to get people to even hear about your movie, because there's so many movies being made now. You have so many platforms and places that they can end up. It's tough to corral those eyeballs.
Yeah.
And stand out from the noise. And a lot of that is, because the equipment's so much cheaper, which is why I always tell everyone it's simultaneously the best and worst time to be an indie filmmaker. I mean, it's the best because for minimal cost, you can shoot really high quality stuff with, consumer grade gear. But because of that, everyone's making movies. And so it's just driven the value way down. The entry barrier to filmmaking, even 15 years ago was way higher than it is now. You'd spend $200 or $300 just on film.
So when you guys are distributing it, are you trying to get like the big, well-known studios to try and pick it up to get it into theaters and stuff like that? Is that the goal?
Yeah, absolutely. To a degree, of course, you want Sony to buy your film all world, all rights, and put it on 3,000 screens.
Right.
That's the goal. That's the dream. We kind of know what we're making though, which is like a lot of these, giant monster versus soldiers, giant monster versus cowboys, whatever you're doing. We know that there's kind of like a lower bar for that. And so the distributors that you're talking about in that realm is like mini majors or the other offshoots like Lionsgate, Fox. All these companies have like small subsidiaries that specialize in these different types of genre pictures, and that's how they put those out there.
Gotcha.
So that's probably who you're usually dealing with. But yeah, the goal is always, we're always trying to make a better film and get to the point where we get that 3,000 screen release.
Yeah. Yeah. And has it impacted you at all? I mean, not being in the Hollywood area versus being in Colorado. I mean, you always think of like filmmakers and actors and actresses and, Hollywood's where you got to be for that. And clearly you're not there now. So does that weigh in at all to what you guys do?
the biggest impact is that we are able to work much cheaper than people that are still in LA. And we can get a lot of value out of various locations. We have mountains and forests and things like that. People in Western Colorado don't want thousands of dollars from you to film on their property, things like that. So you have some advantages. Obviously, the talent pool is a lot more shallow. We pretty much have to bring all our actors from LA and like head positions. It'd be great if we had that skill set here, but it's just everyone goes to LA or New York,
Yeah.
so those people are there for the most part. And then you're also at a disadvantage for some jobs and things. A lot of them are LA based, editing gigs, things like that. So it's a trade off.
Gotcha.
But I will tell you that we're way happier living in Colorado. We did LA for plenty long, and it's nice to have some space and some clean air.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice advantage, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So when you are making a film, like what is your job, or what are you doing? So are you directing? You're probably wearing multiple hats and doing a ton of different stuff, but what are you typically doing in those?
First and foremost, I'm primarily the director, but
Okay.
I like to just consider myself a storyteller because I do so many things to shape that story. And that's, a director's job is really like a traffic cop to take all the flood of good ideas and good work and concepts and things coming from all the different departments and just make sure they're kind of funneling towards an objective that fits the film. That's going to be right for the movie.
Yeah.
But on these smaller films, I definitely do a ton more as well. It's like you have to produce. The producers type of people that they hire people and they find all these different talents and bring them onto the movie. They find locations. They do all these things on lower budget films, and then I handle all the post production because that's the strength of mine. I'm a very good editor. I've got a couple Emmys for editing, and I also know a lot about sound mixing and visual effects. I know enough to be dangerous with all those things that I can take the costs of post way down. But to kind of sum it up, I spent a good 6 to 8 months working on one of these movies, and 4 or 5 of that for sure is solidly you're developing the film, you're shooting the film, and now you're editing the film, 40, 50 hours a week type stuff. So it's a grind.
Wow.
You see these movies in Redbox and stuff, and everybody likes to trash them. And it's fun. I like watching crappy low budget movies and just having a good time with it. But you'd be shocked how much work goes into it.
Yeah, that's the part that amazes me. And I imagine as you're watching a movie, you just see things different than the average person, I got to imagine, right? When you're watching either a high budget film or even a low budget film, your perception's got to be different, right?
I guess it has to, but I have no basis for comparison. There's no way for me to know. Unless I could go into a parallel dimension and find the me that never got into filmmaking and be like, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, as an artist watching these high-end productions, it's I love checking out the big budget stuff because you like to see how they can push it. Where's the technology at? What can we try to do at a cheaper level to emulate that? And it's great. It's sometimes you see stuff that's really inspiring and cool. But I'll be honest, there's a lot of times you're watching something and you're just this is so good, I'll never be any good. So that happens too.
Yeah, yeah. So are there any big players in the industry that you would, on your dream list to be able to work with?
Be cool to, there's am I working for a director? Am I directing a movie? There's a lot of cool opportunities. But I will say, just to answer your question and give you something, Bill Murray would be pretty cool to work with.
Nice. Now, have you had any opportunities to work with, any celebrity type people?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in television. I've worked with a lot of them. Some A-listers, some B-listers, some C or D lister. I guess I'd be a W lister or something far down there. But yeah, I've definitely there's some stories. Some of them I don't want to share because I don't want to embarrass anybody. That I will say that some of these people can be kind of jerks, like you see stereotypically. But I would say more often than not, even A-list stars are usually really nice. They're usually very professional and just kind of do their job. They sweat through stuff just like you do, and they get out. A lot of these people, that have made lots of money in the film industry actually are aware, like, just how lucky they are. Like, and that talent is one thing, but you still have to get lucky. Like,
Yeah.
you still have to be in the right place, meet the right people. When you make a movie, for example, even, it's like, we don't know when you set out to make that movie, it's not going to be done and out for a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years. And you have no idea what audiences are going to want then. So like when a movie hits, it's, it's kind of amazing.
It's probably like, it's a long time to wait, right? After you finish working to see what the response is from your work, right? Does it sell well? Do people like it?
By the time a movie comes out these days, I've already shot another one and I'm working on that one. Maybe I've even delivered that one and we're on to like the third one. Last year, obviously, because of the whole COVID thing, we got a bit derailed. All the projects kind of dried up for a while, and that was kind of weird. People didn't know what to do at first, but now it's all coming back strong now. So, like I said, we're scheduled to shoot a movie here in July, which should be our biggest film yet. So I'm looking forward to that. We're gonna have a couple names in that. We should have some cool action and just do our best, and hope that when it comes out in a year and a half, it finds that audience.
Yeah,
and somebody loves it.
That's cool. What would you say? What would you offer to people who want to get into the industry, whether they're trying to get into filmmaking on your side, or maybe they are trying to make it as an actor or an actress? Is there anything you've seen, like through your experience, where if someone came to you and they're 18 years old and said, "This is what I want to do," that you would say, "Here's a couple of things I would suggest," just having been in it?
I want to start out by saying to everyone, no matter what your position is going to be, and honestly, like in any industry, but I've definitely seen it firsthand here, is that attitude is everything. If you're a cool person to work with and you try hard and you're just good to have around, that will oftentimes outweigh talent or anything else. Like you'll get work, you'll get brought back again and again because of your competence and your attitude, basically.
Yeah.
And then to anyone that wants to act or write, really, again, anything in the industry, I would strongly recommend that you pick up a camera, learn how to shoot, learn how to do even a little bit of photography, learn how to do some basic editing, learn how to do these things, because these trades, again, will make you money when you are shopping your screenplay or just going to auditions. You can earn money assistant editing and doing things like that. And more so if you're an actor or a writer, is if you know how to shoot and make these things, you can make your film, you can produce your own movie. You don't have to wait for someone to read your script and happen to like it, catch them on a good day. You don't have to wait until you get the perfect audition and they know it's you when you walk through the door and you're the guy or gal. Like you don't have to rely on people as much. So learn to produce is what I would say, which is learn to make your stuff, make a couple short films at least, and just have that skill set, because it'll carry you through some of the low tides.
Also, too, I would imagine it probably gives you some good perspective, right? If being an actor and actress is your drive, but you've made some stuff, you've done some post-production, you figured out some film skills and stuff like that, it might just help improve your acting ability, right?
Absolutely. And that's something that I picked up, in the military, which is just, if you want to be a good leader, you have to learn how to follow. Like you have to have done those jobs that you're now telling those soldiers to do, because you have to be able to competently do those jobs and show them how to do those jobs and supervise those jobs if you are going to be an effective leader. And it's the same thing in film. You get up to being a director or producer or any of these heads. If you're a poor leader, it affects the work. And I've worked with plenty of people that were brilliant artistically or whatever, but their leadership skills were very poor, and it's extremely hard for them to get that talent to translate to the screen.
Yeah, there's that old saying, hard work beats talent, every day of the week, right? And you can't always just jump into the role and be the rock star right out of the gate, right? I mean, it's definitely,
so it does happen.
It happens, yeah.
That's the thing. Those are the famous cases, the people we see on on TV and the small screens now, because so many people consume media that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see those golden ticket success stories for the most part.
Right. Well, Hank, it was really great to get a chance to learn a little bit about you and filmmaking, such a neat area, right? I mean, we all just consume so much video, so much content all the time. So, yeah, I thank you for your service, man, and just the time spending with us and sharing with us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And on what you said there, it's like we all consume so much. It's like, hey, kids, if you're looking at doing film school, just remember, you could end up working in marketing and working in anything like that. You can make money at it. Like that type of industry is probably going to grow and grow as we live online and just consume things.
Totally, yeah, with your YouTubes and Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that stuff.
If you're lucky.
Right. Right. Awesome. Well, Hank, thanks so much, man, for being on Armed and Ready podcast. We super appreciate it, and wish you all the best in your new film coming up.
Check it out. We got put all our stuff on our website, photonic.media. So you can check out trailers, things like that.
Sweet. Okay.
Our movies aren't boring, at least I think so. And yeah, actually, a lot of veterans in them too. So.
Do you? That's great.
Oh yeah, we try to hire as many as we can here in Western Colorado when we're doing these films. So.
Perfect. That's awesome, man. Well, awesome, Hank. Thank you so much. We'll check you out online.
Take it easy.
Take care. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you have any questions about the guests on the show, please reach out to me at valoneguy.us.